You found me! Welcome to Ominously Positive, the podcast where we talk about really dark subject matter with a pretty upbeat tone. I'm your host, Meriwether, although a lot of people just call me MW because I don't know why. I guess they just do. Today is a mini episode, so we're going to cover a few things that I might have missed or some afterthoughts about the very first case on my very first episode. Also, I don't have that much time to talk because I only have so many minutes in a month that I'm allowed to use for my podcast for my hosting services, if that makes sense. Anyways, to quickly segue, I would like to go ahead and cover my clauses. I have a few, some of which I feel a little guilty about saying, but I don't feel like I have a good way to... I think I'm in a box of darned if you do, darned if you don't. So I'm going to go ahead and cover my disabilities because I have previously been bullied for some of my disabilities on YouTube and a few other places. And I kind of figured, you know what, I'm just going to throw it out there that I've got them. That way maybe people might second guess bullying me and I won't have to deal with the trauma of that again. So I am autistic. I have OCD. That's all I can think of right now. Oh, I'm a selective mute, so if you've been on my channel a while, there's been videos where I don't talk at all. So this podcast thing is absolutely hilarious and great, and it's really doing me a lot of good, actually. So if you could take the time to support me, that would be awesome. You could support me by sharing this kind of audio with people that you think might enjoy it. Also, I am now on Spotify, yay, and quite a few other hosting services too, so please check out the Ominously Positive podcast in those places. So, this is, like I said, this is just a tiny episode. We're just covering loose notes about the St. Louis Jane Doe from 1983, and I have some really good notes this time, so I'm pretty excited to go ahead and just jump into it. If I kind of forgot something in my intro, I might ping pong back to this, but for now, we're going to go ahead and just bite into this case. So, there was a lot of debate about everybody just assuming that this case got mishandled because the information is so widely different. But I have my own opinion on that, and this is kind of what I think. I think this case has been around so long that the information has just gotten warped throughout the years. It's like a big game of telephone from 1983 to 2021. And yes, I did forget which year I live in. So yes, I believe that the massive amounts of time has disrupted our information flow. I also think, due to the time era, some of the details that were talked about at the beginning versus directly addressed to the public has created a bit of warp just because of the time era. Like, they didn't really want to directly say if she had been assaulted or not, and they never really wanted to directly say what was on her sweater. They would say it was dirty, but if you look at the photos, it's kind of obvious that it's probably blood. But they never said it. They would just say like, oh, the sweater was dirty. So I think time era has warped some of those kind of things. Also, people were really hung up about the private body hair that was found on her leg. So I am going to redo the direct excerpt and quote, except I'm going to kind of censor the word, in particular the private body hair one, because I don't want to get the yellow coin of doom, and so I'm just going to censor that part right there. Also, if you want to help out with this case, it would be very helpful if you could help find the original quote that this newspaper quote came from, or maybe another source that can back up this private body hair thing. Okay, quote. I'm going to cough off to the side awkwardly. Quote, "A private body hair found on her leg failed to provide enough DNA to identify a killer, but Carroll and others have a theory on the origins of the hair. It fell off one of the cops at the crime scene. I'd lay money down that it came from one of us, Carol says. Okay, and that quote comes from the Riverfront Times of St. Louis, the case that haunts. So if you want to check that out, you can. But like I said, I could use some help looking up for an original newspaper source on that. That would be great. Some people have theorized that maybe the hair came off of the use of an old funeral home bag. Others have just pointed out that body hair it just kind of ends up all over the place, even though that's something we don't want to talk about or think about. It's just more common than we think. So that's that topic. Now I'm going to talk about, I added some more resources that I had found and missed from the very first time I had posted my write-up. So those have been added to all my write-up sources. You guys probably don't want to hear about them because they're just linkies, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so the next big chunk is actually more of a rumor mill, and this might get updated because I have a hard time following this sort of thing. So, the rumor has it is that the St. Louis PD do know about the Paraben Nano Labs. And Paraben Nano Labs is the lab that can do DNA sketching. They can make a face based on her DNA that's mostly accurate. And they could also add her DNA to a genetic bank, GED match, basically. So it's a 1-2 punch. If we could get that girl there, that would really help this case out. But anyways, the police apparently know about it, but have not given a public statement on why they haven't utilized the service yet. It is rumored that Paraben has actually offered to do this case. Actively offered. I found on web sleuths that somebody was working in a workshop with an employee from Paraben who expressed interest in this particular case and wanting to expand into Missouri. They implied St. Louis might be a really good place to do this because they're more likely to receive grants, and Paraben can work with grants. In 2018, somebody did contact the current detective on it, mentioned Paraben, and in 2016 they did that as well, and now 2021, because I also emailed and suggested that they work with Paraben. So, whether we'll get any updates on that, who knows? They don't tell people like us that kind of thing. The reason why they haven't done it, well, there's a lot of speculation here. Some say it's a money issue. I mean, just the basics to get this done, probably $4,000 and up. Some people suggest it's a police corruption issue. I actually don't think so in this case. Or maybe that there's too little DNA to use. I also don't think so. We have her entire body, so whatever DNA they want, I think we could get it. And yeah, that's all the info I have on the Paraben Nano Labs, actually. I also found somebody mentioning that maybe the group identifiers could take her, but I don't think they've ever been officially contacted, and I have used up all my social points, so if that's something you want to try to do, contact identifiers and see if they'd be interested in taking this case on. Personally, I'm going to assume the PD will probably avoid this one because they don't take grants, and I would think that'd be a big deal. Okay, and this piece of information, oh my, it's a biggie, and I don't know how I missed it the first time around. Anyway, the isotopes have been done twice. That test has been done twice for our girl, and it really had a different set of states the second time around. Quote from a web sleuth, Rose Lever, pointed out a full anthropology exam and isotope analysis completed by the NCMEC and the Smithsonian. Advanced forcenic testing of her bones also suggested that the female was not originally from the local St. Louis area, but possibly spent most of her childhood in the following states: Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, and West Virginia. Additional tests show that the victim may have also been from the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, and Tennessee. So those are all the states. And that explains why those changes are so different. Wow. Okay, and Sydney from Reddit pointed out on the sweater, and this is a vintage clothing business expert. They said, although not significant, loose-fit clothes were not a popular style for girls and women in the early 80s. However, she may not have had the option if it were a hand-me-down or a donation box. They also point out that Orlan doesn't really fade. So if this is indeed the material for the sweater, it would have been a pastel yellow and not a faded yellow, which is actually a common item for the era. So that's pretty cool to know. A few people had noticed that maybe the delay of her growth could have been because of some medical condition. That's possible. The medical conditions suggested are too numerous to mention, so I'm not going to. If anybody wants to help, you can look into the dead male, where it could have gone. Sounds like maybe it was destroyed at this point, but you never know. And another thing people were wanting to know, if the police ever investigated the killer being part of the post office service or the TV company that lost the evidence in the mail. I have no idea. I have no clue. I never saw anything for it, but you guys can research it if you want to. Janie Sunshine from Reddit points it out that it was possible that the moons of her nails weren't painted because at the time, not painting the moons of your nails was considered healthy. So that's something to consider. And also points to her being from a very loving, caring home. Somebody named Because Frog from Reddit suggested that the warehouse stores sell new merchandise, but they'll rip out tags at close. So we can add that to our list of reasons on why the sweater tags might be gone. And OWell117 from Reddit asked if Little Doe's toenails were painted and if she had shoes. There's not very much info. She had no shoes, and the painting of the toenails, I don't know. I do know they took footprints of her feet, though. And they also connected a good story between Vernon Brown and Little Doe. Like I said, we've covered Vernon Brown. He's on this list of possible suspects. I'm going to add my own possible theory that maybe they were in the process of dismembering Little Doe in the hall. I kind of feel like that doesn't fit too well, but I thought I would drop it here anyway. So for quick help, if you guys want to help, here's some things that you could try to do. Find the Oprah Winfrey TV show that Joe Burgeon was on from the 1990s. Find the episode of Sightings in 1994 where this is the company that lost the evidence. And submit Little Doe's case to the Unsolved Mysteries TV show. Submit Little Doe's case to BuzzFeed Unsolved. And try helping me find original newspapers and magazines from the Black communities around this case time. Because their newspapers aren't as well preserved, I haven't been able to really read them. I did notice that they often use this moniker Sweater Girl when they're talking about her in their own magazines. So if you want to help me research, that's awesome. Those are the points that I need help with. And that concludes all my loose notes and theories about my very first case for the Ominously Positive podcast. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I was trying to crunch it into my time limit. I appreciate you all hanging out with me. This is pretty awesome. And I'm excited for this new adventure. I feel really invigorated and happy. I know quite a few of you are like, this is not my cup of tea. And I totally understand. I went from making vlogs to this, so it's probably a bit of a shock. If you can, would you share my content with somebody that you think might like this? You know, do you have a true crime aficionado in your life? Maybe you could be like, hey, this girl does these really in-depth YouTube videos and podcasts. Check out Ominously Positive and share some of my stuff. Like I said, I'm now on Spotify. I feel really important and special. So if you want to check me out there instead of YouTube, I totally understand. And if you want to just talk to me personally, check out my TikTok or my Twitter. I'm really popping there. Okay. I love you guys. This is the time where I'm going to ask for some suggestions for my next case. Usually I kind of just peruse until I feel like, ooh, the real grip of obsession start, because then I will just keep focusing on it until I get every little detail down. But nothing's grabbed my attention yet, so I'm kind of open to suggestions. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and let you go and stop babbling. I love you guys. Thank you for the support, and hang in there as my content gets better and better. I feel like it's going to improve pretty quickly the more I make these things. So, and the very first case, oh my gosh, that case was so big, I don't even know why I took that one on. Okay, well, I'm really going to go now. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye! Mary out.